This is Math 6, Module 6, Lesson 9 exit ticket. It says the mean absolute deviation, or the MAD, is the measure of variability for a data set. That would be a key word that you need to look out for MAD. Variability. That's what it measures. What does a data distribution look like if the MAD is equal to 0? Which means the variability is 0. Well, what is variability? It is the spread. If there's 0 spread, what is it going to look like? Well, let's call this some number n. All your data points are going to be on it. So there's 0 variability or 0 spread. So we would say the spread of 0 or the variability of 0. Is it possible to have a negative value for the MAD of a data set? Can you have a negative? What does MAD stand for? Mean absolute deviation. What does absolute mean? You know what an absolute value is? Those are always positive, right? Why would it always be positive? What are we actually measuring here? What does MAD measure? The typical value of what? The distance from the mean. Can distance be negative? No, you can't go a negative 10 feet. Right? So, that is why it cannot be. Is it possible to have a negative? No, it is absolute values and its distance. Okay? Now, suppose that 7 students, number 3 here, have the following number of pets. 1, 1, 1, 2, 4, 4, 8. The mean number of pets for these 7 students is 3. Use the following table to find the MAD for this distribution. Well, let's go ahead and calculate our total number of pets. 1, 1, 1, 1, 2 is 5. 5 and 8 is 13, and 8 is 21. Now, the mean was what? 3. So I'm going to write that up here in this little box. And I'm going to say, how far away was this? To go from 3 to 1 would be 2. But it would be what? We would say 3 minus 1 is, or yep, so that would be 2. 3 minus 1 is 2. 3 minus 1 is 2. 3 minus 2 is, 3 minus 4 is negative 1. 3 minus 4 is negative 1. 3 minus 5 is, 3 minus 8 is what? Negative 5. Now the absolute values are just simply the positive values of those. Now let's go ahead and add those up. What should the sum be, or what will it be, of the deviation from the mean? 2, 4, 6, 7. 7 minus 2 is, minus 5 is. How about that? Shouldn't it be really close to 0 if that is the mean, if we're going the distance from the mean? You've already found the average of all those values. And now you got distances from, so that would be a perfectly balanced mean there. It's going to be close to 0. Should always be close. Now, what is the mean, or what is the absolute deviation of it? (14). Now, explain in words what the MAD means for the standard, or for the data set. What is the MAD? Have we calculated the MAD yet? Say it again. The numbers of pets. How do we find the MAD here? How do you find MAD? It's the absolute deviation divided by what? I'm sorry. The sum divided by the total distance, right? Sum divided by the total distance is what? Should be 1.5, right? Because we could reduce both of those by 7 and we would get 3 halves, which is 1.5. Now, what is 1.5? What does that mean when we're talking about math? Who cares? We got a number. This is what y'all are really good at. Y'all can get the number. But what does it mean? How do we use that number? What does 1.5 mean? What is a mean, first of all? Okay, let's talk about it like this, though. It's the average. What is the average? That is a typical value, right? The typical value was 3. Now, there was not a single value of 3. But if we look at the data set as a whole, we could say that the typical value would be 3. Now, what is the mean? What is the mean, or what is the MAD measure? How do we find that measurement? What are we doing? We're measuring something. What are we measuring? From? Okay, so the MAD has to do with the distance from the mean. So this 1.5 would tell us that it is what? Each value is 1.5 pets away from the mean. A typical value is what? It's 3. Well, all the other values are typically 1.5 away from the mean. So the MAD tells you the typical value, or the distance away from the mean. It is the typical distance away from the mean is 1.5. Okay? So if I asked you, what's the mean, or what is the typical value of these pets, what would you say? It's 3. Then if I said, well, where are the majority of those pets going to fall? Give me an interval. What would you say? You could say 1.5 what? From the mean. But if I say give me an interval, what would you say? What is the mean? What is 1.5 away from that? 4.5, right? But it could also be 1.5. Do you see that? It's 1.5 above it, and it can also be 1.5 below it. So the majority of your values should fall between 1.5 and 4.5. Okay?